Blessings and blessings, everybody. Welcome back to the Preston Smiles Show. You could be listening or watching anyone, but you've chosen to connect to me, and I am extraordinarily excited for what is about to occur here. Today, I have done a lot of research into the subject matter that we're going to be talking about today. What does it look like to move from sovereignty? What does it look like to really take on your life and all that encompasses it?
What we teach and what we share is self-governance, taking power, full responsibility for your life. There's been a really interesting deception. We've been brought into a world that isn't necessarily what we think it is.
Most people, self-included, didn't know that that was even an option, that there was an option to actually stand on my own 2 feet, and that it would be as important as this sort of thing that I was born into.
Why are we here? Why should you listen to us? Because there's a choice that has been hidden.
You can't be what you don't know is possible in this world. If you didn't grow up as a rich kid, your whole life have been going like, how do I get in? How do I know what they know? This is the thing. If you've been wondering, how do I take my life on? For real, these are the guys.
Always have to give us a remedy.
You don't have to leapfrog.
Start your journey.
Just dip your toes in, see if you resonate with it.
Love will find a way. Everything else will find an excuse. Blessings and blessings, everybody. Welcome back to the Preston Smiles Show. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you for your time and your attention. You could be listening or watching anyone, but you've chosen to connect to me and who I connect to, and I am extraordinarily excited for what is about to occur here. Today, I have 3 guests that are world changers. They are courageous human beings who've stepped into a realm and decided, yes, to serve themselves, but more than anything, serve humanity. Many of you know I'm one of those people that toes the line between I will conform to a degree, and you could call me a Bloomsday prepper. You could call me all things you want, but I really believe in justice and fairness, and I hate when I feel like something isn't right and I don't know how to put my finger on it. And because I've been gifted with the privilege of having a big family, the moves I make myself have to be very careful, specific moves. And so over the last 9 months, I have done a lot of research into the subject matter that we're going to be talking about today. I'm still a baby in this game. I've spoken to at least 25 people and went on probably 150 websites and went down the rabbit hole trying to find legitimate people to talk to about what we're going into today, which is what does it look like to move from sovereignty? What does it look like to really take on your life and all that encompasses it, even on a day-to-day basis? So without further ado, I am extraordinarily grateful to be introducing to you some gentlemen I am working with myself. I put my own money into their space, so just so you know, I'm vouching for them right out the gate. This Sacred Honor crew, Michael Joseph, Phil, I have a hard time saying your last name. Mederi,
Yeah.
there we go. And Daniel Mintz.
Yes.
There we go. Okay. Fellas, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great introduction.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. It's a pleasure.
Super, super excited to be here and sharing.
Yes. So let's just start with what it is that you guys do, because I don't want to fully butcher it, but I think it's important that each of you introduces yourself so that even if they only watch the first 5 minutes, they just know point blank what this is.
I'm Michael Joseph, as you just shared. I'm the founding director of the Sacred Honor Educational Fellowship. And what we teach and what we share is self-governance. So what is self-governance?
Yes.
Self-governance is taking power and full responsibility for your life in all accords. So what we like to share with people, because there's been a really interesting deception, might be a good word, as we've been brought into this world. We've been brought into a world that isn't necessarily what we think it is. Right. So we have more options in this life than we think we do, which we kind of know that, but we're going to share it in a way that you might not have heard before. Obviously, you're learning and you're going, shit, this needs to be, more people need to know about this.
Yes.
So what we like to share is the distinction between what we call the public and the private. And I don't mean the private like, oh, we got a private corporation, or I got a private residence, or we're talking about the public system as a corporate entity, as the United States federal corporation, and the private as in natural law. What is natural, divine jurisdiction. And there's a clear distinction in there. We're going to pick that apart a little bit today.
That's deep. Before the next two of you go, I just want to take a moment to just really own that most people, self included, didn't know that that was even an option.
Right.
That there was an option to actually stand on my own 2 feet, and that it would be as important as this sort of thing that I was born into.
Right.
So I just want to like stamp that. That by itself is a sort of mind-blowing concept, because we become so automated
Yes.
and robotic in where we give our power over to. And it takes a certain level of courage to decide to step out of that and learn really deeply what that means. And again, I just want to honor all of you for the work that you've done way before we ever met, way before most of the people on behind this camera were ever born.
Right.
You guys were going in when it was way more dangerous to go in, right? This is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for acknowledging that. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you for having us, Preston. I'm Phil Maderi. I'm the equity director at the fellowship, and we'll talk more about equity, what exactly that is. Michael, in a little bit, but Michael touched on it about the private and the public, and any one of you can pull out a dollar bill right now and look at the dollar bill that says this is legal tender for all debts, public and private. So we're being told all throughout our experience in the system that there are 2 parallel ways to live. Some of us go to public schools and check books out at a public library and go swimming at the public pool. Others go to public schools, flying private jet. Others go to private schools and fly in private jets and live and have private trusts, for instance. So we'll talk more about that as we go along, but just to share a little bit of my personal experience, this is real to me, because I'm sure some of you, and Preston was alluding to this in the intro, that there's sometimes a feeling that something just isn't right, and that it seems like there's got to be more of an equitable justice out there, a natural justice that has different rules and plays by different standards. And, it's just the way I can liken this is if let's say you go over to a friend's house and you're playing this game that they play all the time, and they're telling you the rules as you play the game. But the whole time there's an instruction booklet in the box that, you can pick up and read and figure out, hey, maybe they're not telling me all the rules to this game. And maybe I'm not, maybe I'm losing for a reason. Okay.
All the time.
All the time. And how do I always end up being the debtor? And how is my life force energy and my productivity seem to go to these other entities, and I'm always at a disadvantage in that relationship. And that's what we're here to talk about. We're not only here to talk about a relationship with the system, but each one of us has a relationship with the divine, a relationship that is internal, and that's where the growth comes through in all manners. And so that's what we're really here to talk about, is transcending belief systems that are outdated and no longer work, and we're going back to the ones that were the original design, that has simply been obscured or shrouded for many of us in the public system, and that's what about going back to the private means. And just real quick, it doesn't have to look super different in your day-to-day life. It's just the way that you view your relationship with the world, and how you strategize that in your decision making. So there's a conception out there that you have to give everything up and live under a rock, or you can't do all the things that you used to do. That's not what this is about. It's just about the fundamental, for lack of a better term, or it is the term, contracts and commerce. That's what it comes down to. And I wasn't always sitting here, being able to speak these words or do these things. I started in my own journey as well, where I had a lot of anger at at the way the system operated, and I had a feeling it just wasn't right. And it took a journey of self-growth and self-realization and knowing who I really was. And that's what it comes down to, knowing who you really are in relationship to the divine and also your interactions in relationship to the world around you. So with that, I'll pass it over to Daniel.
Thank you. Well, just always so inspired when you talk. So I'm just like, okay, let me back up and drop into, okay, now I have to talk. So I'm Daniel Mentz. I'm the National Status and Passport Director at the Sacred Honor Educational Fellowship. And this is basically all about status correction, which is a very, highly buzzword out there right now. A lot of people are talking about status correction. And it's a big topic of confusion for most people because there's these different people talking about different things. Oftentimes they fight each other based on, my process is the right one and yours sucks and all that kinds of stuff. There's so much confusion and noise out there that my hope for today, at least, and also what we bring forward in the fellowship is to bring clarity and ease and a sense of peace to the whole conversation of status correction, because it's really a lot easier and simpler than most people make it. So just a bit backstory of how I got into this. I grew up in a small town in Germany, came to the US in 2009, wanted to be an actor in Hollywood. And that whole, I was quite successful as a filmmaker with a feature film that we made called Slip Away. But as part of that, I got a little peek behind the curtain of how Hollywood really operates. And I was like, no, I don't want to, no, that's not what I signed up for. And so I left the industry completely, and then I got into entrepreneurship, online, web design and stuff like that. And then in 2020, I had my big wake up, kick in the pants, as I like to call it. And my question basically was, how can they do this? Like, shut people's private businesses down and even like throw people in jail for not wearing a mask and all that kind of nonsense, and enforce these injections on people, right? How can they do this in the supposedly freest nation on earth, right? Where we have a Bill of Rights that's supposed to protect us all from this kind of stuff. So that was my question. Like, I was asking God, like, how is this possible? And so ask and you shall receive.
Yes.
A man came into my life who basically answered the question. Well, because in a nutshell, everyone was tricked into this federal corporate citizenship thanks to the 14th Amendment, which we'll unpack later in greater detail. And you're basically considered legal property of the government because of it. Yeah. So, and, that went, once that rabbit hole opened, I'm like, wow, I dove so deep. I was obsessed with this information. It took such a hold of me that I studied this stuff for 6 months, day and night, until I felt comfortable enough to do it, for myself.
Yes.
And then, of course, my friends found out about it. The greater circle found out about it. So then I found myself in a position of teaching my friends this stuff, and then group workshops. And then, I met Michael, and then he asked me to teach a workshop for the online community. And so,
can you stay right there? Why is that important to you to correct your status?
Well, first of all, I don't like the word correct.
Okay.
I don't like the word status correction, right? Because it aims at something that something is incorrect. When in fact it's been our own unconscious consent to it. Because that's how we grew up, that's how we've been taught the system works, that's how we've been educated, what our rights are and where they come from. So it's, you can call it mind control, you can call it indoctrination, you can call it propaganda. It's a mix of all of it. And it's designed to keep the people down and controlled and ignorant, right? And so as part of my Great Awakening was the fact that, okay, I know the Great Awakening is really happening inside of us, right? In the heart. As we open our heart, we discover who we really are, and we discover our soul's purpose and our soul's power.
Yes.
Really. So, but then we're still walking in this three-dimensional world, which is such a commercialized corporate like overlord kind of trying to press consciousness down. And so as part of the spiritual awakening, I think everyone at some point is going to have to face that. We're dealing with a legal financial system that's specifically designed to compress and sort of cut off our greater soul's purpose, right? To keep us all compressed in debt slavery, really is what
Yes.
we're dealing with. And so that was like the aha moment for me. Is like, okay, there's a spiritual path, but then most people are ignoring the 3D aspect control mechanism that's at play here.
Yes.
And so I think it's very important for anyone who's on the self-actualization path is that you have to face this legal financial monster, right? That's breathing down everyone's neck. But the beauty of it is that it's much easier, much simpler than most people make it.
Mm.
So
I'd like to create some context.
Yep.
So that, because some people might already be confused, like what does status mean? Why do I think about status? What does that pertain to?
Yeah.
Right. So one of the things, a very fundamental distinction for people to grok is that there's a difference between the United States Federal Corporation and the United States of America, the Republic.
Mm.
Right. So most people don't even realize that there's a distinction in there. So there's a simple way for you to do your own homework and look it up for yourself. In the public system, there's the Federal United States Corporation, and they make their own statutes and codes. They write their own rules, all right? And the one who creates controls. I didn't create the United States Federal Corporation. I don't know who did. I can speculate. I don't even really care. I just know that it's not a system that was designed for my best benefit.
Yes.
So you can look up, you can Google, go to you just Google 28 USC 3002 subsection 15, which means you just scroll down to section 15 under definitions, and it says United States is a federal corporation. What it doesn't say is United States of America. It's not listed in there at all. United States of America, the Republic, is not listed. It's a federal corporation. That's a clear delineation between the Republic and the federal corporate system.
Got it.
So, and that happened over a period of time, and that's kind of what we're alluding to
Yes.
here. So, over a period of time, we had the original organic constitution that took place after the Revolution, after the Declaration of Independence and the Articles of Confederation. Then the Constitution was drafted, right? Then we had the country, that was drafted as a set of principles. It was drafted as a trust, right? Now, you fast forward to the Civil War, which was a war over economics, essentially. And a reconstruction took place after that period. So they killed Lincoln, and then things started changing really drastically. There was a redrafting of the original Constitution that became a corporate constitution, and they redrafted the 13th Amendment. And believe it or not, most people don't realize that there were two 13th Amendments.
Yeah, I did not know that at all.
Right. It's mind blowing. So historically, you can do some homework and you can find it for yourself. You can find the original drafts. Each state has their own draft of the original 13th Amendment,
Okay.
which was ratified in 1812 or 1813. I don't recall. And there's what is written in there. What is important to know is something called the nobility clause, which basically states that nobody of nobility can hold office in the United States. What is nobility? Esquires or attorneys or royal blood. And there was something else important.
nor can they have any foreign ties to
That's
any
it.
foreign kings or nations or interest.
Okay, so
Why does that matter to us?
Right, why does that matter?
Yeah.
Because if you look at our system now, well, our whole Congress and our whole system is full of attorneys. They're all connected to royal blood, et cetera, et cetera.
They
So
all have foreign interests.
they all have
Yes.
foreign interests, right? So now you might start seeing a picture that's being painted here. So the global bankers are behind a lot of this. And now it's a deeper story than this, but we'd just like to surmise all of this down to how the system of dominance works through commerce and contracts.
Yes.
It really boils down to that. So all the other stuff is fine to learn. It can be just a big, wonderful distraction if you don't know where to place it. So we just focus all of our attention on how it really works through commerce and contracts.
And just for clarity's sake, you talked about the corporation and then you talked about the republic.
Yeah.
Most of us are operating under the laws of the corporation.
That's right.
And by doing so, we subject ourselves to the rules that place sets in place,
That's correct.
which for most of us feel unfair, like just taking half my money every time
that's
I
right.
make it kind of deal.
Yeah.
And you guys, again, for clarity's sake, help people step out of the
corporate system.
the corporate system and step into their own
into what is natural,
into what is natural.
into which is constitutionally protected, which is what we call divine jurisdiction, which is who do we want to pay our allegiance to, a corporate entity or our creator? Right? It's a key question to ask. Most people pay their allegiance to the corporate system. They get up every day, they get into the grind, they pay taxes, they're establishing themselves, and they're supporting that system, and they're doing it voluntarily.
Not knowing that there is another choice. Right.
Yes.
So that's the big why. Why are we here? Why should you listen to us? Because there's a choice that has been hidden.
Yeah, cleverly
you.
misdirected.
Right.
Yes.
And again, you can't be what you don't know is possible in this world.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so there's the republic, and then there's how does equity even play into all of this?
Well, so I'd love to finish the
Yes.
13th and 14th Amendment, because there's a really important thing to learn about this, and it's about contract law. So I was mentioning the system of dominance works through commerce and contracts. So getting back to the 13th Amendment, so there's kind of a running play in the freedom community, if you will. They say the 13th Amendment freed the slaves and the 14th Amendment enslaved everyone. So what does that really mean? Some people might have heard this, but what it means is, if you look at the language, now I'm going to talk about contract law, why it's important to understand this basic fundamental. In contract law, we say that the law is in the contract. So that means if you and I, Preston, get into a contractual arrangement, and what we draft in that contract, because we're living sentient
becomes the law.
creators, that's the law. And that includes the definitions. So whatever we define in there is the law, and nobody outside of that can change it. Not even the court systems. Nobody. Not even your mom. Nobody can change it.
My mom's pretty persuasive.
Yeah, right. But you can let her in if you want. But the point is, she has to be willingly brought in.
Yes.
So this is another thing you can look up. This is simple and fun to just help you kind of break the spell of some of the truth of what we're sharing, or some of the deceptions you've been living under. The Bill of Rights has language that's clearly natural, like we're people with lands and rights, and there's distinctions in there, right? And the definitions of that set of principles is defined in the Webster's Dictionary of 1828. And in that it says, a people or even a person is a living sentient man or woman. That's the only clear definition. Fast forward to the 14th Amendment during the Reconstruction period. Now, this is the corporate constitution that they redrafted. The language is persons with benefits, privileges, and immunities. Right? Doesn't that sound familiar? How many times have you signed a contract for your phone service or any other kind of service, and it talks about benefits and privileges? Well, that's a corporate contract. Now, what defines the definitions, or what defines the words in that contract? The Black's Law Dictionary, which is what the courts and the public statutory system uses in the federal corporation. And that definition says a person is a vessel, a partnership, a corporate entity. Right? Now, buried way, 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 way down in the definition somewhere, it might mention something about a living sentient man or woman, but that's not its primary definition.
Okay,
Right.
so how does that, that just
Right.
bent my mind a little bit. So it says in what they use in the courts, the definition of a person is a vessel
Yes. A corporate entity.
or a corporate entity.
A corporate
Corporation,
person.
basically.
Okay. So how did we get there? And is that true by way of like my birth certificate, or is that like a real thing?
Yeah, you want to pick that apart a little bit, Phil?
Yeah. It's the word certificate already shows it's commercial and the state's involved. It's a third party in the contract. And so because there's no will attached to that instrument or that security, they securitize it as a bond number on it. And so since there's no will attached to it, it's a salvaged vessel. Okay, so
Salvage title.
salvage title, yeah.
By
But-
who?
It's salvaged by the one that's involved in the contract, the third party, which is the state,
Yes.
because it's certified underneath them. So that falls under the 14th Amendment, because just to draw another distinction here, connect some dots.
So this is it's a little tricky. So we're going to try to unpack this so it's clear.
We're talking about the corporate government. Well, that's public. I wanted to make that distinction. Okay, that's synonymous. It's synonymous with legal as well. All right, that's the form of law they use in the public and in the government. Then we have the private over here, which is the republic, which isn't a 14th Amendment citizen. It's a sentient moral being.
Yes.
And it also, equity is what the private uses over here.
Got it.
Equity and legal are opposites. And says, and anyone who wants to look this up in the Black's Law Dictionary, I use the 6th edition. Look, I encourage you to read the definition of lawful. Lawful is substance. Fiction is form, or legal, which is fiction. That's another nature and fiction. Fiction applies to the government. It's made up by men, and not the creator. It's fictional.
Yes.
Just like a pharmaceutical drug is made by some chemistry lab. It's not natural medicine.
Yes.
Okay. The natural is private. Natural is republic. Natural is unalienable. So I'm throwing terms out here just to show everybody how these connect. So where it fits in is this birth certificate is a security, and it's the security that all other credit is built on over someone's lifetime. Now, the way it works, because there's no money in the system, gold and silver was taken away in 1933, and it says the people of the nation, all the people of the nation are backing this public credit system. So that's the substance going on. So that being the case, based on that birth certificate, there's a trust account that's funded based on future production. So if you're going to go buy a cow, how much milk is that cow going to produce over a lifetime? And you kind of figure that that's the value of that cow. And so that credit amount is put into that account, and that's where all these charges are coming from. I can go to the grocery store and get charged. I can get pulled over on the side of the road and get charged with a citation. We call those tickets. That it's actually a charge. I can go in the court and get charged, or on my cell phone I get charged. Okay, why does that word come up in every sense and every universally across our entire experience? Yeah, because what they're doing is they're charging that public credit, and they're coming to siphon off the life force that backs it up, because we're the only ones that get up in the morning and create productivity, create things, and move through the world in that fashion.
Our energy.
Wait,
we are literally the currency of the system.
Yes. So let me just bring that back. Let's make it me. So I'm born. 1980. I come out of my mom, and they hand her a thing that says sign this and tell us what this person's name is, and then eventually I get a social security number. By way of the logic you guys are talking about, that social security number and certificate, that birth certificate, which is signed over to the hospital or whatever it is, they then either have some type of computer system or something that says, all right, let's see, young black male, he'll make about 10 million in this lifetime, or whatever case it might be, and they put that in immediately, or that is just, that trust account is empty in that moment, and it gets filled up over time.
Well, when they issue that security, which the birth certificate's a security, that's the security that everything you're ever going to sign in your lifetime, every loan application, every security that's created on top of that is based on that original instrument. That's the root. So it's funded at the time of issuance, and that's held. There's lots of debate, and we don't, like Michael said, we don't like to go down these rabbit holes. Like if there's a red car parked on the street, we all see the red car. I don't need to know who designed the transmission. I don't need to know who designed the brake pads. It doesn't matter. We know there's a red car there. We can all see it. It's the elephant in the room. We don't need to go down and all the, what do we do about it, guys? So if this is the case, that account, that's just the way the system's built, everybody. It's commerce and contracts, and when they took the gold and silver away, they also made a pledge to indemnify the Federal Reserve for giving us this wonderful public debt slavery system that exists. And so that pledge is what all these charges are coming from.
Got it.
And they need this credit to fund this, to make the wheels go round in the system, because there is no gold and silver. They can only take the energy
Yes.
that exists inside of all of us creative beings.
But still use me. How do I get out of that?
Well,
Many ways.
but you just do you absolutely need to get out of it, because that's how you function in the commercial system.
Yeah.
You need to know who you are first and foremost.
Got it.
Are you this 14th Amendment fictional citizen, which is basically an LLC?
Yes.
Now all of you that started an LLC, there needs to be a responsible party on that LLC, a surety that they come knocking on the door when something happens, right? So think of the living, breathing Preston as the surety, as the backing
Yes.
for that business entity, which is the U.S. citizen. So it's not about running away from it or being scared. It's knowing who you are and how to manage that properly. Stay in the private
Yes.
and manage your public affairs, and know where you're at, and know what contracts you're involved in, and know how to navigate that. So it's more about knowing who you are, as Michael said, who your authority is,
Yeah.
and how and your relationship there, and then knowing, hey, I'm just managing a business in this commercial world.
Got it.
That business may have to play along with some of these rules,
Yes.
but the living, breathing human being
Does not.
it does not have to play. The Bill of Rights applies. Let me just ask you this real quick before I pass it off. Okay, if we have the Bill of Rights and we already had protected, unalienable, natural, divine rights, why was civil rights necessary back in the 60s? Why did we have to fight for something we already had? Because it wasn't for the living.
Yes.
That was for the business entities that were fighting for those rights to be treated a certain way.
Got it.
So we want our businesses to be regulated in a different way, but we have all of that already. All we need to do is click our ruby slippers together 3 times and go back home.
Got it.
We don't need to fight the system. We're not revolutionaries. We're evolutionaries, and the evolution of our consciousness is the move back into what's always been there before, and it's always been available to us, and that's what we're here to do.
Okay. I have follow-up, and I know you're going to jump in. So you answer this question, or you answer this question. Okay, so I know that, right? Now I'm at the point where I'm like, there's me, and then there's this Social Security certificate thing that I've been playing for years. But I did sign up, whether it was conscious or unconscious, to play that game. And so if I signed up and I'm in their house, I'm under their rules. How do I not get myself arrested moving over there?
Because they haven't been telling you about the hidden rules that they play by. Remember the game? Right? Yeah, we're in a casino, basically.
Yeah.
Right? It's all a game. But the house always wins because they know the algorithms of the machines. Right?
Got it.
So what we're bringing forward is like, hey, look behind the curtain. Here's the algorithm. Here are the hidden laws that they don't want you to know about.
Okay, here it is. What's behind the curtain?
Okay, so one thing
Let's
that
go.
is important to grok here, and this can be confusing for people, there is cosmic law that no entity can break.
Oh.
So, and it's fascinating because we've actually witnessed this in so many occasions. So you've heard Phil talk about unalienable, or he says unalienable, or alienable rights. So what is an unalienable right? Well, what is God given? What is God given is our right to hold land without encumbrances, which means taxation or somebody telling us what to do with it.
Yes.
We have a right to earn a living without encumbrances, which means taxation or what to do with it, right? We have a right to protect ourselves,
Yes.
to bear arms, et cetera, et cetera. That's what the Bill of Rights tells us, that God says this is our natural divine right to exist and function through. There cannot be a contract that takes away any of those rights. So that's one thing that's true. So let me give you, for instance, let's say that the corporate state says, hey, you need to give us half of your wealth.
Yes.
And you go, well, I can voluntarily give it to you, which is what they want you to do.
Yes.
Or you could say, well, don't I have an inalienable right over here to earn a living without encumbrance? I think I'll go over here. And they can't change that. Just because you sign that contract doesn't mean that you have to give them half of your wealth, because the unalienable rights, the Constitution is still the highest law of the land. The original organic Constitution is still the highest law of the land. A statute and code inside of a contract of that corporate state can't take away an unalienable right, or it's treason. So they always have to give us a remedy, right? So all we do is share people the remedies to bring us back to our unalienable, protected, God-given rights.
Yes.
Right? It's really kind of that simple.
Got it.
So that's what we share with people, and we share pathways. First of all, we educate people on how the system works. We have a documentary or edumentary that's an hour long. It's called Breaking the Spell.
Yes.
And it covers in great detail what we're talking about. We're kind of jumping around a little bit, but Breaking the Spell really pulls it apart and brings you through the historical aspect of this in a brilliant way and creates a strong context for you to go, I see this picture more clearly. Now I feel more confident to dive in and take action like you did, right? And some of those actions are, how do I set my life up in that private ledger, that divine ledger, where you're protecting your legacy wealth, right? So you don't need to give away all your money and wealth and taxation. You can safeguard it. You can put it into private trust. You can build a private ministry or a church or a temple or a synagogue or whatever it is that you want. And you can develop private trusts, and you can build and put your assets and your legacy wealth in trusts that are private. I'm not talking about statutory trusts that attorneys create for you. You have the power to draft your own trusts, right? Think about that.
Everybody let that land for a moment. So, okay. We all, to the degree that we have heard about the Rothschilds and all that kind of stuff, and how they, and even though the Walmart guy and how they set their legacies up by putting things into trust where they can't be sort of pierced.
That's right.
You're saying that all humans in the United States of America, let's just start there.
The world.
In the world, but let's just say whoever's can create their own trust by way of being taught how to do it, more than likely through sacred honor or wherever that happens, and by doing so, set themselves up where the what do we call that? The corporation can't look in and say, hey, give me that too.
It doesn't have jurisdiction because it's not in the contract.
Got it.
To draw a parallel to a real life situation, the Federal Reserve is a private trust. It cannot be audited by the federal government. So let that sink in.
Yeah, no president, no congressman are allowed in
there. They can't interfere with it whatsoever. They have a contract called the Federal Reserve Act that gave a private trust dominion.
Wow.
And they have no right to go in and tell them how to conduct their affairs in the private.
So we can just play the same game they're playing.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah, so all that stuff you hear in the media, all that, it's just theater, it's distraction. It just keeps you distracted from what's really true. And we just help people just ignore what's going on in that realm. And I don't mean ignore it completely, but it shouldn't be ruling your consciousness and your awareness. You know that it's there, but you should be focusing on building your life in the private and building community and building real legacy and finding ways to lead our lives where we're not dependent upon this corporate system, because that's what they want. They want us to be dependent upon that system.
Because if we are, then we're in the cycle of debt, and we're constantly chasing our tail and never getting anywhere where we can bring our gifts forward.
Yes.
Right.
That's what it's really about, is every one of us has a purpose here, a gift to give. And if we're encumbered and worn down and living someone else's vision, living this power structure's vision of us being the workers and generating all of the energy, because that system can't generate its own energy. They only exist because of the energy that's being produced by natural sentient beings. So we all have a wonderful purpose to make this world a wonderful, conscious place. And if we're siphoning and our energy is leaking out into this other system, then that's not serving us or all the collective in any sense of the natural collective. I'll just make a distinction. There.
I want to share one, and I can tell you got something coming up. So this might help some people with some more distinction. So on the public side, the corporate person is the one who's responsible for the debt that the bureaucrats create. That massive debt, that 37 trillion, whatever that is a public debt that's created by the bureaucrats. That's a constant borrowing from the global bankers, right? And they make the 14th Amendment U.S. citizens liable. They become the surety
Yes.
through their future labor and their liens against their private property to pay back those debts, which
Yes.
never get paid back. It's a debt slave system.
Yes.
But here's the interesting thing is when you learn a lot of the stuff that we're teaching you, you realize that on the public side, we're the debtors. On the corporate person is the debtors. On the private side, the people are the creditors. So what does that mean? Because we are the currency of the system, we literally and figuratively animate this corporate fiction. The corporate fiction cannot exist as a hollow box.
Yes.
And if it isn't for the people, it doesn't exist. So it relies upon us. So think about that. Who holds the power?
Us.
We hold the power. And we forgot that. So, and the system is set up this way. We're just trying to help you see it. So on the private side, we're the creditors. So what do I mean? Let me go a little deeper. You can look up a book called The Modern Money Mechanics that was written by the Federal Reserve of Chicago. And there's a section in there that says how money is created, or how is credit created is what they're really saying. And it says by the process of the signature. So just think about that. If money's created from the signature, whose signature? Our signature.
Sign of nature.
Sign of nature. So we sign something, it goes into a system, this bond system that he was talking about, and it creates this currency that they utilize in the system, right? So just think about it. When you go to the bank and you say, I want to borrow $100,000, well, the bank's not actually giving you anything. What happens is they get you to sign something that creates the credit. You're giving the bank your credit, and they're loaning it back to you in a promissory note.
With interest.
With interest. And you signed that contract to give them money with interest in a promissory note. And they never gave you anything. You gave them the credit. That's a big pill for a lot of people to swallow. That's literally and figuratively fraud. And it's actually been shown in court a lot. It's just that you won't find it in case studies because they bury it, because they don't want people to see this, of course.
Yes.
Their goal is to protect the public. And what's the public? The corporate entity, not the people.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'd like to bring in, if I may, sort of a 10,000-foot view, like an eagle's eye perspective on everything, because I think that will just put everything into alignment. So we're dealing really with a modern corporate version of the feudal system. Okay? So what is the feudal system? Well, the feudal system was developed pretty much after the fall of Rome, even though it never really fell, but that's a whole other rabbit hole. As the physical Rome fell, right? So people were fleeing the cities and they were going to the land where these generals, these admirals, they had lots of land. Lord of the manor, right? We've seen that in TV shows and movies and whatever. And so they would walk up to the Lord and please give us shelter and food, because of the war and my family's hungry. And the Lord would say, yes, sure, okay, I can give you all that, but you have to give me something in return. Okay? You have to pledge allegiance to me so that if the war comes to, our land, you're going to help defend the castle. So I will give you protection for your allegiance, and your allegiance will get you my protection. Protection for allegiance and allegiance for protection. Now, of course, allegiance, we know what that word means, okay? We have the Pledge of Allegiance here.
Yes.
Right? So you are pledging allegiance to the federal lord of the manor. Right? Now, you came into that relationship voluntarily. You walked up to the lord of the manor and said, I need your help, right? You volunteered into it. And you knew that if you go voluntarily into this relationship, including your family and any possessions you have, would become property of the Lord. That was part of the deal, okay? You're now my property. You're on my land. I get to tell you what to do and not to do.
Yep.
Right? And even there might be some loans involved, right? He may give you land. If you produce anything, you have cattle, grow vegetables, whatever, anything you sell in the local market, guess what?
He gets a piece of it.
He gets a piece of it, right? Starting to sound familiar?
Yes.
Okay. Now, here's the kicker. Because you came into this relationship voluntarily, you can also leave the relationship voluntarily.
That.
Right? but you have to do it with the Lord. You can't just tell your neighbor, hey, when the Lord comes around, just tell him I'm out of here. It doesn't work that way, right? Because your contract, and this was serious stuff, right? When you came into allegiance, into servitude with the Lord, there were witnesses around. Everyone noticed and witnessed that you are voluntarily pledging allegiance to the Lord, right? And you became his property, including your family. So that's the contract, okay? So you have to do it with the Lord of the manor. Again, if you want to leave the land and go on about your business wherever else, you have to sever the contract with the Lord of the manor, right? Okay. So this is what we find ourselves in. Everything's voluntary. You mentioned, your mom signed the application for a birth certificate. That's the contract, okay? Now, if she gave you a home birth, there's no such contract. You are being birthed in the private. No one the system doesn't know you exist. There's no social security number automatically just popping up, right, in your house. So you see, like everything but it has to be voluntary, right? Even the 14th Amendment, which I'd love to dive into detail, but maybe later, gives Americans a choice. You can either be a federal U.S. citizen corporate fiction entity with all the rules and regulations and taxation, or you can be the original pre-Civil War state citizen. There's no tax, right? You're protected by the Bill of Rights.
Okay, pause. So then how do you get one of these?
What do you mean?
If you step out of the game that we all signed up for, but then I want an iPhone, and they say, oh, well, click this box that says all the things.
Well,
then how do I get it? Like, because I'm just jumping into the mind of people, because there's levels to this, right? Everybody paying attention. This is a Ferrari engine in this room right here. And some of us are just learning how to drive.
Yeah.
So what we're attempting to do with these Ferrari engines is like especially for many of you, you've been hearing about this. There's little trickles here and there, and you're going, I don't know where to fucking start.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start. I don't know where to go. I'm telling you, you go here. Okay. And help me answer that question. How do you play both? Do you play in both worlds, or you just don't get a phone?
You can get a phone.
You absolutely can. So I know there's that, and Phil kind of touched on it just a little bit.
That was awesome, by the way.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that. That's
that was
amazing.
fucking awesome.
I've not heard you say it that way before. It's amazing.
That was awesome.
So that corporate entity exists whether you decide you want to play with that or not. So your living sentient man or woman's always there. And that corporate entity, when you're born into this world and your parents sign those contracts, well, all that still exists. You can decide to wear that hat and get a phone, or wear that hat and get a car, and wear that hat and get a house, right? Or you could just do it through a trust, which you could learn how to do that, where you own nothing and control everything. So you have no liability because you don't own anything. That's important to get.
Bang, bang. Let
Right?
that one land.
But just to answer your question directly, there's nothing to stop you from dancing within that corporate system with a whole lot more power and awareness.
Let's
And
go.
you're not giving away your wealth because you know how to move it into the private that's not taxable. You know how to manage your life in a way where your private property can't be confiscated because you understand how that contract works.
Yes.
Right? Because that's all that happens. Your private property, your land, your real estate can be protected through a land patent, which was established before the Revolutionary War was even completed through the Paris Peace Treaties.
I'm going to be doing that
Right?
too with you guys. That's just steps, by the way.
It's very important to grok these. So, so all this money this bill that you get every year for your real estate, this tax bill you get, if you look at it,
$33,000 for me every year.
yeah. So if you look at yours, it says street bond, education bond. Those are just a bunch of contracts. Those are a bunch of loans that the bureaucrats keep taking every year and stacking those loans against your private property, which is just a deed, by the way, which is a piece of paper. It's an instrument. And what you're paying every year on that tax bill, you're just paying the interest.
Yes.
You're paying your tiny little portion of the interest. But what they never tell you is that it's a loan. They never tell you that you're just paying the interest, and they never tell you that there's actually a principal. So you can actually learn.
I just keep paying forever. 'Cause
Forever.
they're like, oh, well.
There it is. You're in a cycle. You're in a debt slave cycle. But you can actually learn how to find out what that principle is, and you can discharge that principle, and now there's no obligation, and the county has no impetus to send you a tax bill every year. And if you pull your land patent and you perfect your patent, that means the county has no power and authority to come on your land and tell you what to do, when to do, and how to do it. And you can learn how to do this stuff. It's not hard. You just have to apply yourself.
Yep.
Many people are doing this now.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, to hop in too. I mean, what he's talking about, pieces of paper like the deed, or the U.S. citizens, a piece of paper in a filing cabinet drawer in Washington, D.C. These, when you start an LLC, you fill out the LLC paperwork, it goes in a drawer. All of these things are systems of form. The substance is the productivity, the spirit, the nature that exists in each one of us. This process has been designed, especially here at the fellowship. We have this in mind. All of us come from places that were in the system, and we all have our unique personal journey to transition our awareness, our consciousness, and our affairs.
Yes.
And as we, we all start in somewhere different, and we make actionable plans, and we have different tools in the toolbox to move in however you feel comfortable, whatever pace you want to move in.
Yep.
You don't have to go live under a rock somewhere. You don't have
Yep.
to feel like you're giving up on things, or that your whole life has changed significantly. Think of it as a makeover behind the scenes. And now maybe it doesn't even look that much different to everybody, like your neighbors or anybody else. But behind the scenes, you're completely restructured, and you're conducting your affairs in different ways.
Yep.
Because your conduct really speaks to if you're presumed to be a public U.S. citizen or a private living individual. So it's all within us to some respects, but we have the choice, and this is not something you have to bite off more than you're ready to chew.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can take it in
Take
baby
it step by
steps.
step.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring it all the way back again.
Yeah.
What is the trifecta? Like, what is the pathway? And especially talk to the trust piece, because I think a lot of people, even like myself, I have been sort of like close but not in for years.
Yeah.
And because there's this big fear, hey, I don't have enough money, or I haven't made $30 billion yet, so why would I ever have a trust, bro? Like that kind of thing. What can you just make that so simple for the people who, maybe they make $60,000 a year, and what is the 3-part pathway that you guys do that would be not as scary? Because a lot of us just see like sovereign man videos, and we think that we have to scream at the police and all that kind of stuff.
No, never scream it.
No,
It's definitely not where we come from.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about a sovereign citizen. The sovereign citizen is an oxymoron. It was created by the government back in 41, I believe, to try to get everybody on the page to be a U.S. citizen and that they were sovereign, the whole double negative type of thing. Because sovereign is something we already are, and we're sovereign under the Creator, each one of us. Citizen is a synonym of citizen is inmate.
Yes.
Okay, so how can someone be a sovereign inmate? It just doesn't make sense.
And that's in the law books.
Yeah, it's in the law books.
Legal synonym.
Yeah. There's a deeper story in there about body politics and a sovereign body politic. And so, but the truth of the matter is, it's just, there is no really such thing as a sovereign citizen in the context that the FBI is trying to scare people with. So,
Okay.
So let me go into the pathways. So
Yes.
in the Sacred Honor Education Fellowship, we have the 4 pathways, and collectively the 4 pathways are called the Foundation for Self-Governance. So we're giving you the foundation of how you can learn to self-govern in your life. All right, so in there's 4 pathways. National Status Passport, which Daniel's the director of. That's where you can do your political status change, right? That's where you're moving from a 14th Amendment citizen to a national, right?
And so what that is, just to briefly like hit on it, is I still could have a driver's license. I could still have a passport.
Yep.
I can still go places. I don't have to get trapped here or wherever I am. But I'm just this. It's a way of. Does that go into a actual system?
Yes. It is actually, the system honors it. It's actually on the front of your passport. If you want to look this up at home, open the first page of your passport. In the section, in the paragraph where the U.S. Secretary of State promises you lawful aid and protection when you're overseas, it says citizen/national.
Mm.
of the United States.
So you can click that one.
No, you can't. They made it very tricky to actually become a national. It took many brilliant minds on whose shoulders I stand on over decades to figure this out. But yeah, the system honors it. It's in the Immigration Nationality Act, it's in the U.S. codes. The Supreme Court has upheld it 4 times over the past century.
Yes.
That there's these 2 statuses, and it's your choice. Which one do you want to be?
Got it. And you guys help with that.
Yes.
That's one. Okay.
Right. So national I'm just going to go through all 4 real quick, and then we can pick them apart. So national status passport, you just heard about it. Trifecta, alloidel land, and equity.
Mm.
So you're getting familiar with equity now.
Mm-hmm.
So you were asking about trust. So the second one, and they're not in any particular order, by the way. I just put them in that order, and that's how we talk about them. The second one is trifecta. So that's built on a 3-part structure, which is the church ministry or your temple or your synagogue or whatever it is you want to call it.
Which is setting up a entity or business it's not a business, but like.
So it's deeper than that.
Yes.
So the first part of that is called the Declaration of Knowingness. The very first part of that, it puts you into an exercise of remembering who you are. Who are you? What is your connection with Source? So you pull down from the ethers your connection with Source and your knowingness. What do you know today? What is your connection with Source? And then you, through that intention, you scribe it into paper. That is your declaration of what I know today to who I am.
Yes.
And what my power is. Right? You're the grand creator, connected to grand creator.
Yes.
Right? Now you're going to bring God's work out into the world.
Yeah.
So you open up the church. Now, something that we share in the curriculum, the trifecta curriculum, is a series of biblical references, ancient text references, etc., that clearly states that the man's body is his church temple. And in the connection with Source, everything that comes out of your mouth, every action you take is your ministry. So we're always in our church ministry. Right now, we are all in our church ministry.
But you don't have to be Christian to do this.
Absolutely. This is not about religion.
Got it.
This is divine. We are all divine. It has nothing to do with religion. Religion is a whole mess and quagmire that can be unpacked on 20 other episodes.
So then when I go through that, again, because I'm just hooking everybody up here.
Totally.
So I go through that and I pull down from the divine and I understand who and what I am. And then I write that and decree it into my own. Into creation. And then I would send that to the IRS.
Not at all.
No.
They would have a lot of fun with that one.
It's all private. So that's the cool thing about all this is you don't need permission from the state to exist. You don't need to file or record anything. As a matter of fact, when the church exists and then it opens up a trust, that becomes what's called an integrated auxiliary of the church. Now that trust is in divine jurisdiction.
Yes, but that trust does get filed somewhere. No. Okay, but then how am I going to receive money? If I want somebody, if I'm PayPal, Stripe, anything like that, I do this whole process, but then those things make me say something. I can't just
get an EIN.
Okay, but does the EIN connect? Is that a 508c1a?
Well, it can be looked upon as a 508c1a, but we don't claim anything that the state creates. Right?
I love you guys. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's important to grok this.
Okay,
so we're in the likes of a 508c1a, but we don't claim that we're a 508. We are mandatorily accepted from the rules of the 501c3, which is what most people think a church is, or an establishment that's tax exempt or whatever, not for profit. But that's just a contract with the state. So that's a fool's folly. You think you're getting a benefit and a privilege of being tax exempt, but you got to give them all your records. You got to file every year. You got to jump through your ass to audit things to prove that you're this, that, or the other. You're proving yourself and asking permission from this other Lord over here when you need to just pay attention to the Lord Creator, really. Yes. That's how it works. So you don't need permission to exist. You don't need to file. A trust law states privately that there's no requirement for the trust to file or record or let the state know anything.
Facts. And if I wanted a bank account, I would need
a bank account.
Just with my own official paper or the EIN number that I get from...
You establish the trust, you get an EIN, you go into the bank as the trustee, and you establish a bank account. It's that simple.
Yes. The piece I'm hitting on, because I know how people are thinking right now. it's a big jump to just go full-fledged private, but I'm building the bridge here that the moment I go get an EIN, where is that EIN coming from?
From the IRS?
That. Okay. So many of you are going, I can't fucking leave everything. You're not. You're just doing it the legal, a different kind of, the lawful way.
Right. So let me just, I want to tap on to what he was saying earlier. If you have an existing LLC or an S Corp or C Corp or all these properties in the public system in real estate, does that mean you can't build something in the private now? No. So what Phil was trying to say earlier is you got all this public stuff already happening, but you're going to restructure your life in the private. You're going to build that trifecta, and then you're going to attach those trusts to the LLC. Suddenly the LLC is going to be the partner of, the trust is going to be the partner of the LLC, or it's going to have a contract with the LLC, or all the shares of the S or C are just now going to be going into the trust. The trust now becomes the beneficiary of that, right? So all that stuff can still exist, and it just finds its way back into the private, slowly but surely.
This is how the billionaires do it.
And I also want to draw a parallel to the system is built to support both parallel ways to operate. It's not just built one way. We were only taught one way. Now, our options were limited. We went to public school. They taught us to be public, okay, most of us, okay? But the private ones that go to private school are taught different things, and they're able to pass that knowledge down to their families as well. So this is where the paradigm gets to shift, and you get to choose. And just like the IRS, getting an EIN for a trust with the IRS, it's a system of form. It matters what boxes you check and how you check it, and it's going to direct you to where your consciousness is at that point in time. So you get to choose. You always have a choice. And even at the DMV, I was talking to someone the other day that they gave them an iPad that said, "Are you a U.S. citizen or /national?" They said yes. The next question was, "Are you a resident?" And they said no, because a resident is a U.S. citizen that's living. So you got to know how to navigate these little minefields, and then you get a license under a national status instead of a U.S. citizen status. But so they have to honor both systems because the elites
have to give us an option.
The elites are not going to give up their way of operations, and it's protected in a divine law. So you just need to know how to navigate that, and that's what Michael's explaining. And it doesn't have to look different on the outside, but behind the scenes, the engine is running differently.
I just want to
go ahead.
just piggyback on that. What does change, for people that we see every day is the internal confidence and strength, right? That they carry now forward into the world. Because now the spell is broken. We can see clearly. We can see all the options we have, right? And we can choose which path is going to be most beneficial to us, our family, our businesses, whatever, right? It's very malleable, the trifecta. So, and it's not, it's not cookie cutter stuff.
Yes.
So, but the internal change is really what happens to a lot of people.
So just to tap on that, the I won't say the older I get, but the more in tune with myself I get, the more I take on the responsibility of what does it mean to provide and protect my family. And a part of that is understanding what I'm signing them up and into by way of what I'm signing myself up and into. And so this path that we're even talking about it's not for the faint of heart. It is for somebody, in my opinion, who really wants to live as close to what their creator made them as, whatever they call that creator. And I still have more to go, but I just want to take a moment for everybody listening and watching right now who's going, wait a minute. So if you didn't grow up as a rich kid, right? I grew up in the LA Unified School District. I was a throwaway little black boy that nobody gave one shit about. And I was special needs. So I was even worse. I was the lowest of the low. And so built inside of me early was a distrust for systems and the thing we were already placed in. Just as a kid, I'm like, they don't give a fuck about me, right? But there's a lot of other people who also just didn't grow up with the privilege of the rich kid thing. And so some of you, your whole life have been going how do I get in? How do I get in? How do I know what they know? And I'm telling you right now, and you guys know how I am. I don't just bring anybody onto my spaces. I don't do that. This is the thing. If you've been wondering, how do I take my life on for real, these are the guys. I've already sent multiple friends to them. I've sent clients of mine to them. Take this serious. At the very least, click on that link that's below for their program, if you may.
Fellowship. Yeah, to come into the front door and start your journey.
Just look around. You'll quickly see, and I'm telling you, this is just like a little disclaimer. I've talked to a lot of people who know a lot of the similar things, but there's some shiesty ass characters in this space who will try to put extraordinary premiums on everything. And I had a friend who referred me to someone. That friend paid close to $50,000 for an ROE, which is something called a revocation of election. You see these guys' face? That's the same face I made when I figured out what was happening. And I told him, and he was heartbroken. I said, buddy, you got scammed up the yin yang. And I was going down that route. I had done 3 calls with this individual. And there's something in me was like, this ain't right. Something isn't right. So I just found all his sources, and then I kept looking. And then as I said, God, put me in the right space. You know who I am and you know what I represent. Bring those kind of people in front of me. Somebody said, hey, have you talked to the Sacred Honor people? I said, what's that? I said, go look. And I looked around and I'm like, oh yeah, these are my people. And then I talked to Phil, and instantly, first of all, they have proof of everything they're talking about. They have how many years in the game?
Collectively 75, 80 years or something. I don't know.
Just the knowledge base, it's like 90 plus years.
So these aren't amateurs. These aren't guys just trying to come up on you. These are people who've been living this work for a very long time. And I instantly knew it as we started to talk. And this is where I want to segue to you, and we'll spend like the next 20 minutes and then we'll close up. One of the things I wasn't aware of, and I won't go too deep into this, is how the governing body called the IRS will use language that is like trapdoor language. And that language, when people, regular people like me, receive letters from those kind of things, we see the letters and we go, oh my God, I must sign away and say yes and give me a payment plan. Oh my God, I'm so scared. I did that to the tune of like 260,000 the first round. And can you guys just speak to language in this space?
Well, Dan, you do a great job talking about the linguistics.
So, in a nutshell, we're dealing with dialectics. Dialectics, equivocation is another word for that. Okay, and I encourage you at home, again, look up those words in the dictionary, and you'll quickly figure out why the system is the way it is. It basically just means a double standard, a double meaning for a word, especially in order to mislead. That's in the dictionary.
Give us an example, just because.
Okay,
like
simple example.
Yep.
Are you a citizen of the United States, or are you a citizen of the United States of America?
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
That's interesting. Yes.
Because the name of our country is United States of America. But when it comes to our citizenship, they leave of America out. Right? They don't call you a USA citizen. They call you a U.S. citizen. They call you a citizen of the United States. And Michael earlier established that you can look this up. United States is literally defined as a federal corporation. So what they're asking you is, are you an inmate of the federal corporation? And most of your life, you've said what?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Okay, they have your consent. You have volunteered. Right? Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Okay. So, and these dialectics, just the changing of labels, changing of words, giving words double meaning, double standards, is all throughout the entire system. We can pinpoint it in the IRS codes. Let's go into income tax real quick, because that's like a topic here, right? Okay. So as on the passport, right? They have the two statuses on there. Okay. Well, what if I told you that in Title 26 on the first page, they also have both statuses in there?
Mm.
But through their legalese dialectics confusion, they made it very difficult to identify. So, I'm paraphrasing now, but on the first page, again, you can look this up, Title 26, 1.1-1, 111, very simple to remember, right? An income tax is owed on all individuals who are a citizen of the United States or resident, comma, and to the extent of 871B and 877B on the income of non-resident alien individuals.
What?
So, right? Exactly. So your brain just goes like, done.
Yeah.
Okay? But stay with me for a second,
Yes,
all right?
I'm here.
So we know what a citizen of the United States is. We know what a resident is. Okay? Well, what is a non-resident alien? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Someone ICE is coming to get.
Okay. Never heard that before, but I'll take it. All right.
Yes, it's
That makes sense.
yes,
That makes
someone
sense.
who's not from here.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. Well, so whatever that is, they
Mhm.
only owe two sections of the entire code, right? It says to the extent of 871B and 877B, that's what a non-resident alien owes in tax. Okay. Well, when you go look at those two codes, what do you find? You find one of them is for expatriation. There's a tax on expatriation. So how is someone who's not from here paying a tax on expatriation?
Yes.
Right?
It makes no sense.
Doesn't make sense. Okay. The other one is if you make proceeds from federal bonds or if you have a business inside the District of Columbia. Never heard that before, right?
No.
Okay. So now when we look at that and we realize, wait a second, those two taxes are the only two constitutional taxes that were in place before the Civil War.
Mm.
So that means the non-resident alien is the pre-Civil War state citizen, the only political status that was available for Americans before the Civil War,
Mm.
right? So there you have it. It's right in the code, but
So-
they call it something else.
So I would want to check that one.
Well, you can't check it, but when you send your national affidavit
Yes.
as part of the national status passport process
That's the one I want to go into.
to the IRS,
Yeah.
now they know, okay,
It's established.
it's established. Okay.
Yeah, and I want to make a quick point, just a quick point.
Yes.
Some people might check out just on that information alone, like
Yeah.
sizzle, I'm
Yeah.
out. You don't have to do what we're talking about doing, how we lead our lives, and we're talking about self-governance. You
Yes.
don't have to learn law. You don't have to spend 10 years learning code.
Nope.
You don't have to study law. You don't have to none of that. You just have to understand how it functions, and we have methods to teach you in simple form how it all functions. But the most important is how you embody it. When you get this and you embody this, then applying all this stuff is actually easy.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to like rip all this stuff out just like Daniel did in order to be sufficient at this at
Yeah.
all. It's just important to share that because
Yes.
people get scared.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously us being in it for a long time, we have looked at all this stuff. We've gone down that wonderful rabbit hole, which is essential to go down. But what we want to do is we want to stick to principles. We want to stick to the principles of things. When you lead a principled life, for instance, you have better results, in your relationship to everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when we boil it down, then one of the beautiful things about being lawful is it's based on principle over form or legal statutes, or a lot of attorneys have those cases behind them that have the zillion books on there. Like they, I got all these. You don't have to go through.
Just
you,
look.
You don't have to go through all that stuff. You don't have to spend
Yes.
years. You don't have to learn all the formalities, the procedures, all those type of things. And it's more simplistic. And Michael likes to say a lot, all things true are simple.
Mm.
So when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, it's the principles. And for instance, just to clarify a little bit more in equity now, because I know that we've gone down the other ones. It's based on the principles, the wisdom commands of all wise texts that have come through the past, all the experience of man and being under the man and women being under the Creator. Principle is where it's at, and when it's founded on principles, it's simple. We have once we shift and transform and embody that energy field of the principles, and that conducts our affairs. There's really no need to be underneath these strict written laws. The ones that aren't ready for that embodiment and are on their journey somewhere still, or that's strict written law has its place to keep order and things like that. However, when the principles are what it's really based on, and embodying those, and again, it comes down to energy field and a lot of these things, and showing who we are by our conduct. If we show up embodying principles, then we're gonna be presumed as being private, honorable, living man or woman. And on the other side, if we show up conduct being dishonorable, then they're going to compel performance, which means enforce a contract or enforce an obligation on us. And that's what people experience in the system, how rough that can be if you're in that situation. So again, we get to choose there. And equity, as I mentioned earlier, is the natural justice. That's one of the synonyms in the legal dictionary, natural justice for equity. So it regulates the fair dealings between sentient moral beings, and it makes all parties whole in the matter. So it's a great equalizer. It wants to make things harmonious. And when we live in that embodied spirit, then we don't have the challenges from the public because all parties are made whole.
Yes.
And this to get to the IRS example, for instance, when they're sending that all caps name, they're actually addressing the LLC. The business is who they're, as Daniel was sharing. They're addressing that. Now, just like with your LLC, if you don't handle your business, they're going to come after you eventually, right? So if we don't settle that claim that they have against us, well, we can settle it with equity from the private and apply the principles and the substance and the value from the private and from the living. We can apply it, and it balances that claim, those books, and so there's no reason to come after your home or put you in the county hotel or whatever they're looking to do.
Yep.
Because it just goes away. All parties are made whole and settled.
Yeah.
And we can do that through, again, when they took the money away, the gold and silver, they put in this public credit system. There is no payment anymore, even though they use that word in quotes, which is a customary term. It's not, has no standing. However, it's a discharge is what it really is.
Yeah.
And so if you were talking about contracts earlier and things like that, the way a thing is made, it's also unmade. That's a principle of contract.
So we can uncontract ourselves with since we're talking about it, with the IRS. So they can send me a letter and say, hey, all caps, Preston Smiles, we'd like for you to send us this. And then let's say I'm mistaken and I sign it at first and say, yes, I would love to send you that. Then I can then knock back at their door in a lawful way and say, hey, I actually was mistaken. I am a sentient being who doesn't want to contract with you anymore. Is that essentially how it would go?
Well, in some respects, that would be more of a legal status standing type of thing, which is totally available. However, in equity, what it's really saying, if you signed a contract in the past and handed over your property under contract, then that contract is in essence completed. Now, if you signed a 1040 form or an extension or a payment plan or anything like that, and there's still an outstanding, that property has not been handed over yet, then there has been no exchange in that manner, so the contracts can be unmade, and then that liability can be settled with your substance instead of coming out of your bank account.
Got it.
Or whatnot. We talked about that trust credit account earlier.
Yes.
They're taking it out of there anyways. Even if you pay them, they're double dipping. Yeah. They're going to take it one way or the other. So why not just give them that side of it and say, are we finished here? Is our business settled? Those type of things. So it's a way to settle with the other party, settle public charges, public claims, and then because the natural response to a charge is a discharge. It's the natural countermeasure. It's like a keto when someone comes at you with a charge or energy. You redirect it back for discharge, and you can use their own energy for that purpose.
So, for clarity's sake, especially for the people out there who don't know this type of languaging, I've been with you guys long enough to understand it. Is that reach back out to them, basically saying, "Hey, we know what's going on here. We don't want to fight you. However, we're good to go now."
Well, that's a beautiful thing about it is we talked about the people on the side of the road arguing with the police earlier We talked about confrontational
Mm-hmm.
claims, arguments, disputes, those type of things. We don't need to do any of that. You can give all that up. You can let it go and you can move the piece. We don't need their acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need their approval. We don't need a standing ovation or a slap on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us, frankly, just want to be left alone.
Yes.
We want to conduct our affairs, be with our families, have what we worked so very hard for,
Yes.
and be left the hell alone.
Yes.
And that's what this is about. So it's not about asking permission. It's not about making claims. It's not about making assertions. It's essentially our conduct I talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Our conduct dictates what happens and who we are.
Yes.
So when we conduct ourselves based on the principles of nature,
Yes.
and we apply those principles through the mechanism that was written in the public policy.
Yes.
They wrote this in. This isn't some. I show you exactly where it's written in there,
Yes.
and we just follow it to the letter of the law, and they leave us alone.
So everybody listening, that's the key piece. You, just like me, don't have that information. They do, which is why I contracted and reached out to you guys after doing lots of research. There was 2 other companies that were in the space that there was some overlap and some things that just didn't feel right to me. But everybody had the same understanding, which had me I had actually a sense of relief because everybody had the same understanding. They just were like the discrepancies in what they were charging and the energetics behind it. Like birds of a feather often flock together.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you come to me with, let's say, wounded bird energy, and I'm not a wounded bird, but you dress it up and make it look golden, when you're really tapped in, you go, that's some bullshit right there. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And so I had that moment where I was like, nah, this ain't it. So I'll keep going. And that's how I ended up finding them. So for those of you saying to yourselves, okay, I'm in a contract that doesn't feel right to me. And I don't know how to conduct myself to the degree that Phil was talking about, because your parents didn't conduct themselves that way. Your neighbors don't conduct themselves that way. None of us have been taught that. So if you want to be taught something, right? If I want to be good at basketball, I hang out with basketball players. I want to be good at soccer, I hang out with soccer players. I want to understand cameras, I go hang out with Clever behind this camera right here. You want to understand how to conduct yourself in such a way that doesn't have these systems all up in your business and stealing from you at some level, if that's how it feels for you, then you do it the right way or one of the right ways, and you find people who are the real deal. And as we sort of wrap this up, and I'm going to give each of you, 45 seconds to just sort of love on the people and tell them what they might need to hear. I just want you to know that if you made it this far and you're listening and you're curious and you're leaning in, this is the space. You don't have to leapfrog into it, but if you were looking, I get nothing from this. There's no kickback. There's no nothing. I'm just one of those people, like you guys know, which is probably why you follow me, that once I know something, like that was my promise to my God, is you get me out of this, I will always come back for those who don't have what I have. And so this is me coming back and placing in front of you the right type of people. So with that said,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
yeah.
Yeah, quite an honor.
I want to encourage people to let you know that you can do this.
Absolutely.
You have the power to do this. It's not, it might seem daunting just because you've not heard it before or you're not that familiar with it, but I assure you, we have a lot of people that come through that have brilliant aha moments, and they work their way through this. They build their bridge out of Babylon.
From all walks of life.
From all walks of life. And that's really what we're here to do, is just help people build the bridgeways out of the matrix and find their way back to being natural people again, people of the land with their toes and their fingers in the soil and in community again. And you can do it. And you can be left alone from the system. You can find your way into a place to where you are self-empowered in that place. You will when you find self-governance, you're self-empowered. And I just wanted to make one statement about like how the foundations for self-governance works. When you go through those pathways, when you're building your life in the private, you don't have to express equity and do discharges and what you're going to learn about. It's a powerful, powerful instrument as Preston's learning to learn about. And we just touched the barely touched the tip of it. Is that when you build your life in the private, you learn how to be left alone. And and the reason why we have equity in the fellowship is if you ever need to clean up some of your affairs in the public, I always say, well, you just put on your bookkeeping hat and you step into the public and you settle and close the affair where all parties are whole, and then you come back into the private peaceably. And then you learn, the more you practice this, the more you're left alone, and you don't have to step into public that much to address affairs through discharge or whatever the case is. You can do this. Some people move fast, some people move slow. Just have grace on yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
Me? Okay. Well, one thing I always want to leave people with is that there's always a remedy. No matter how deep in the woods you are, or you think you're drowning in debt, or whatever the case may be for you, there's always a remedy. The problem is that you've never been told that there is a remedy for that, you know? So that's what I would like to encourage you with. And just, if you have a courageous heart, we have a complimentary membership. You can just look at the things that we say and do and watch Breaking the Spell. There's a lot of great information already in there. Just dip your toes in, see if it's for you, see if you resonate with it. But yeah, there's always a remedy. We always like to say that because there is. It depends on the situation, but there's a tool for every tool requiring operation.
For every situation.
Yeah, if you need a screwdriver, or if there's a Phillips head screw, you need a Phillips head screwdriver.
Yes.
If there's a nail, you need a hammer. Thank you for that. Those beautiful, beautiful shares. And I just want to stress that we are a fellowship because it is all about the fellowship. It's all about connecting. It's all about our members. And to build a parallel conscious society, we need leaders from all aspects. Natural medicine, natural food. All types. Every sort is needed in fellowship and community to build this parallel society. And at the foundation of this is natural justice, because we can't rely on this broken down fictional man-made system to govern the new parallel society that we're building consciously. And so if you're called to this at all and this is resonating with you, that may be in your calling. And if not, and you just want to be left alone by the system and learn how to have more autonomy and not feel subject to all these challenges and encumbrances and stressors and things that come up, this is for you too. And so you get to decide how deep you want to dive in. But unless we choose to self-govern in all ways, there's always going to be someone trying to rule, and there's always going to be that issue going on. And that's just the way nature works as well. If there's a vacuum, it's filled. So it's up to each of us to embrace self-governance and responsibility on our own if we want to create the world that we want to live in. And that's what we're really here to promote on our side of things.
Yes, aho.
Rah! 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 I love you all. Peace and blessings. Love will find a way. Everything else will find an excuse.
Thank you.
Okay.
Amazing.
Thank you.